Today we're gonna find out how fast you can beat Pokemon Black and White with only Terrakion. With a base attack stat of 129, the strongest member of the Swords of Justice packs quite the punch. Its rock fighting typing also makes it super effective against most of the important trainers in the Unova region, so I have high hopes. The rules for this challenge are on screen now, and if you'd like to refer back to them, they'll be in the description down below. Will Terrakion be able to take the number 1 spot from Reshiram? Be sure to watch until the end to find out. Terrakion starts off only knowing Quick Attack and Leer, and honestly Quick Attack is doing less damage than I was expecting. You can see from its moveset that it doesn't learn any coverage by level up, so we're gonna be limited to the few useful TMs we can get before the postgame. After learning Double Kick at level 7, we make easy work of Bianca on Route 2 and Sharon at the trainer's school. Cress is also no problem, as a single double kick KOs his lead Lillipup and then his Panpour dies to 2, using a single workup before it goes down. After beating his brother, Silent gives us the TM for workup, which is gonna be a huge help. Already having a way to buff our attack is gonna allow Rocky to blow through battles without much grinding. Now we can jump straight to Nacrene City in our second battle with N. We open by taking Pidove out with Smackdown, which we learned at level 13. Timpole survives a double kick but then misses its supersonic. Next turn I decide to use a workup, but the Tadpole growls, which cancels out my boost. I kill with another double kick and then Timber comes in. Double kick isn't enough to one-shot the fighting type either, who hits a super effective low kick for big damage before going down to one last double kick. If Timber had critted, I would have had a very early blackout. Before taking on Lenora, I did a little grinding to get to level 19. Her team is usually really tough to deal with. Hertier's Intimidate and access to Leer plus Watchog's Retaliate are a recipe for a loss. Fortunately, as a rock type, Terrakion doesn't have to worry too much about normal type moves, and Workup makes it so that Intimidate is a non-issue. Turn 1 we work up to negate the drop from Intimidate, and after a Leer I'm now at -1 defense. I decide to use a second as the Sheepdog hits Rocky with Takedown for 13 damage. Now at +1 attack, a single double kick gets the kill and Watchog comes in. Rocky is faster than the normal type, so one more double kick gets us the win. Pinwheel Forest goes smoothly, and after the Team Plasma shenanigans in Castelia City, it's time to take on Berg. I open with workup against Whirlipede, who uses Screech to bring Rocky to -2 defense. After Smackdown kills, the Bug-type Gym Leader goes straight to his ace Leavanny, who unexpectedly survives a +1 super effective Smackdown and string shots Terrakion, making it slower than the Bug. I go for Quick Attack on the heal turn, but next turn, since I'm slower and at -2 defense, Leavanny has no trouble KOing us with Razor Leaf. I ran some damage calcs here and realized I needed to be at level 24 to O-code Leavanny, so I guess the grinding I did before Lenora wasn't a total waste. I head to the Battle Company and take out a few trainers before going back to challenge Berg. Nothing changes against Whirlipede. I work up and it screeches, and then it gets dropped by a Smackdown. This time when Leavanny comes out, we're able to get the one shot after it protects for a turn, and then Dwebble also dies to a single Smackdown. There are 2 more Bianca and Sharon battles on the way to Nimbasa City, but all Terrakion needed to do was work up against their leads and then one-shot both teams in their entirety. We actually don't need any of the items in Desert Resort, so we get a nice time save as we fly through Route 4 to Nimbasa. In our next battle with N, we're super effective against his whole team, so we either use double kicks or smackdowns to take each mon out. This is what I mean when I said Terrakion was strong against most important trainers in this game. Let's see if we can keep the pace up against Elisa. Both of the electric leaders and Mulgas get outsped and one-shot by Smackdown, so that just leaves her ace Zebstrika. Double kick brings the Zebra down to around 30% of its health as we finally take damage from Spark. Since we didn't get paralyzed, we easily win this fight with one more double kick and are free to move across the bridge to Driftville. On our way there, Sharon stops us for another fight, but his team is still light work. The only annoyance was that Lipard used Torment, so I couldn't use the same move twice in a row. Dewat lived a Smackdown, but all it did was focus energy, and then the rest of his team went down without putting up a fight. Before going to cold storage, I stop at the marketplace in Driftville. If you show this guy a Pokemon who's at least level 30, he'll give you the Expert Belt, which boosts super effective moves by 20%. After recapturing the Plasma members, Clay returns them all to Getsis. What the heck, man? I just rounded them up. He'll pay for that. I open by double kicking his Krokorok into its grave, and then the only Pokemon I'm neutral against, Palpitoad, comes in. It lives through double kick and sets up Aqua Ring. I go for quick attack on the healing turn to put it in range of a double kick next turn. Last is Excadrill, but its steel typing does it no favors as we finish this battle off with one more double kick. That'll teach you to make me do meaningless work. In our next battle with Bianca, her Musharna actually has a chance to do some super effective damage, but opts for a defense curl, so it goes down to 2 smackdowns. The rest of her team can't stand up to Terrakion, so now we move right to Chargestone Cave and our next battle with N. Double kick is actually really nice to have since it allows us to bypass Boldor's Sturdy and kill it with one attack. As much as it's a plus against Boldor, it's actually a minus against Ferroseed since it means we have to take 2 doses of Iron Barbs. However, this isn't a big deal since N's Clink and Joltik both get one-shot by double kick and smackdown respectively to win the battle. If you're enjoying the video, feel free to show support by leaving a like and subscribing down below. It really helps out. And just like my in-game character, go ahead and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. I actually remembered to bring a flyer to Celestial Tower with me so I can quickly get back to Mistralton and run to the gym. Rocky has Rock Slide now, but unfortunately it only has 10 PP, so after taking down Skyla's gym trainers, I need to run back to the Pokemon Center to heal and make my way through the cannon animations a second time. Now I can finally jump into my 6th gym battle. We miss Rock Slide on turn 1, but Swoobat only sets up Amnesia, which is useless because I only have physical attacks. Terrakion proceeds to connect his next 3, which one-shot Swoobat, Swanna, and Umpheasant to make quick work of the flying-type gym leader. I grab the X-Scissor TM on Route 7 and get ambushed by Sharon outside of Twist Mountain. I open by KOing his Unpheasant with Rock Slide, and then he sends in Dewott. Unfortunately, I miss my next Rock Slide and a Water Pulse hits for around 40 damage. After Rock Slide isn't enough to kill the starter, it lands another Water Pulse, which leaves Rocky in the red. I click double kick, but since this thing has Aqua Jet, we don't get a chance to attack and Sharon sends us back to the Pokemon Center. Without hesitation, I make my way back and challenge him to a rematch. This time, I start by using 2 workups while the bird just detects and taunts. After a second detect, I'm able to take it out with Rock Slide and I'm face to face with the otter again. I decide to use double kick this time and at +2 attack, it's strong enough to KO, even getting a crit on the second hit for good measure. Simisear and Liepard also die to double kicks, but this is a good example of why planning for battles is important. I thought this Sharon battle would be a joke, but it only takes 1 attack not killing for things to turn against you. In the winter, Twist Mountain is a lot faster to get through than other seasons. The snow allows you to run straight to the exit without taking on any trainers. Let me know down in the comments if I should start doing all my runs in one season to avoid inconsistency or roll with whatever time of year it is. Now that I have my HM users in Woobat and Cubchoo, I fly to Mistralton Cave and make my way to the Hardstone, which boosts the power of Rock-type moves by 20%. Now I absolutely destroy Bryson's gym trainers and face off against the Frost Ninja. My Pokemon has 2 types that are super effective against his, not to mention Sacred Sword, which has a base power of 90. Wonder how this'll go. Yeah, that's what I thought. Just 3 clicks of the A button allows us to move on. Now we deal with a bunch of story as we make our way through Dragon Spiral Tower, Relic Castle, and get the Darkstone from Lenora and Nacrene, leading us to our final fight with Bianca. Her Stoutland can't do much to me, so I use 3 workups to get to +2 after its Intimidate. It hit 2 Retaliates while I set up, but as you can see, they didn't do much damage. Now Stoutland, Serperior, and Simipour all go down to +3 Sacred Swords, and her last Pokemon, Musharna, dies to Rock Slide. By the time I get to Iris, Rocky has learned Swords Dance, so now we get double the buff workup was giving. After getting to +2 attack, I can fire off a Sacred Sword to kill Fracture, who we outspeed despite it using a Dragon Dance. An unnecessary crit KOs Druddigon, and then Haxorus dies to one last Sacred Sword before getting the chance to do anything. Terrakion's pace has been really impressive so far, getting through 8 gyms faster than Zekrom and only a few minutes slower than Reshiram. In our last battle with Sharon, I open with Swords Dance before Unpheasant seals the move off with Taunt. Now at +2, a Rock Slide easily KOs the bird and Samurott comes in. Unable to stand up to a Sacred Sword, the rest of Sharon's team gets decimated and we're clear to move through Victory Road. After grabbing the TM for Taunt, we have no trouble with any of the trainers here and finally arrive at the Pokemon League. I have a fairly risky strategy for Chantal. First, I give Rocky a rare candy to get him to level 54, which by my calcs gives him a good chance to beat her. Then it's finally time to say goodbye to Quick Attack as I teach Taunt in its place. I also need to give Terrakion the Hard Stone to hold, and now all the prep is set. Step 1 of the strategy relies on Cofagrigus going for Will-O-Wisp, which I think it should do every time. It just makes sense since Terrakion is so physically offensive. I outspeed the mummy so I can taunt to waste its first turn and free myself up for Swords Dances. This does mean I need to take 2 super effective psychics, but as long as there isn't a crit or a Spadef drop, we're good. Now at plus 4, Rock Slide will always kill, but we're gambling a bit on its accuracy. The reason I needed to get to plus 4 is Golurk. It resists Rock Slide, and obviously as a ghost type I can't hit it with Sacred Sword, so I only have one option. With the Hard Stone, we have about an 80% chance to one-shot, and luckily we do, because if we hadn't, an Earthquake would have ended us. Unfortunately, after killing Jellicent, we're plagued by the 30% chance of Cursed Body activating, so now I have nothing to hit Chandelure with as it fires off a Shadow Ball to kill us. This is the best strategy I could think of, so I'm gonna go back in and retry. This time, for some reason, Chantal doesn't use Will-O-Wisp, so after our second Swords Dance, we get killed by 3 Psychics. That seemed like odd AI to me, so I decided to try one more time before possibly leveling up. Fortunately, on attempt 3, things go as planned, and Cofagrigus and Golurk are both taken down. I click Rock Slide against Jellicent and no Cursed Body. Perfect. We also managed to connect 4 Rock Slides without missing, so that's Chantal done. Let's hope we don't need to face her again. We can all imagine how easy Grimsley is going to be since I have one of the best fighting types in the game, so let's just roll the tape. 4 Sacred Swords is enough to get the win, even while being at -1 against Crocodile, Bisharp, and Liepard from the Crocs Intimidate. Before Caitlyn, I replaced Taunt with X-Scissor, which is the only super effective move Terrakion can learn to deal with Psychic types. I also give Rocky the Expert Belt, which I probably should have done before Grimsley, and I jump in against Elite 4 member 3. Reuniclus is too strong for me to set up against, but luckily its defense is low enough for a single X-Scissor to kill. Masharna is a lot bulkier but less powerful, so I have no problem taking a Psychic from the elephant while setting up a Swords Dance. The Spadef drop won't matter now that I'm at +2 since nothing is gonna touch me. X-Scissor kills Masharna, then Sigil Lift goes down to Rock Slide, and finally Gothitelle also gets dropped with X-Scissor. That just leaves us with Marshall, who's honestly gonna be tougher than Chantal. Not to mention my strategy is even riskier. I replace X-Scissor with Reflect and give Terrakion the Rocky Helmet. Now there's no turning back. The key to my plan is that Throw's AI has it use Bulldoze as long as I'm faster than it. In order to reduce damage taken, I set up Reflect turn 1, but if a Storm Throw comes out, we'll lose. The move always crits, so it bypasses Reflect, and we won't have enough health to make it through the rest of Marshall's team. Things were looking good since we were bulldozed twice, and now at +2 attack, we're still faster and can one-shot Throw with Sacred Sword. Even at -2 speed, we're also faster than can Kelder and drop it with Sacred Sword as well. Now is when things get dicey. Mienshao hits Jump Kick, but thankfully we avoid a crit and can kill with another slash of the sword. Last is Sawk, and the reason we needed the Rocky Helmet is that it has Sturdy. This means it'll always get a Karate Chop off, but we can survive one even with Reflect gone. We live on 19 HP as the Rocky Helmet breaks Sturdy, and we finish Marshall off with one last Sacred Sword. That may have looked easy, but it took 200% of my brain power to damage calc that strat and play the battle out in my head before going in. With that out of the way, we just have N and Getsis left. Before entering the throne room, I replace Reflect with Taunt, and after catching Zekrom, it's time to face N. The game forces you to catch the box art legendary, and if your party isn't full, it places them at the front. To get around this, I bring my monkey, who is our cut user, to the battle and switch them in for a quick death. Now I have a clean switch to Terrakion and the real battle can start. Unfortunately, after my Swords Dance, Reshiram uses Extra Sensory instead of Fusion Flare, which I was hoping for. We do outspeed though, so at +2 attack, Rock Slide takes it out. Now Kling Kling comes out, but after KOing with Sacred Sword, we see it was actually Zoroark. Caracosta is the king's most dangerous Pokemon because it has Sturdy. Similar to Sawk, I plan on breaking this with the Rocky Helmet so it dies after attacking me. Unfortunately, the turtle gets a crit waterfall after being brought to 1 HP by Sacred Sword, and Rocky goes down. I ran the calc on this to see if the crit mattered, and we actually would have lived without it, so that's frustrating. I also have to wait for Zekrom to die to Vanillux before I can go back in to challenge N for a second time. Reshiram is programmed to use Fusion Flare on its first turn regardless of what Pokemon it's facing, so we eat the not very effective attack and Swords Dance. Now Rock Slide takes it out and Zoroark comes in again. I guess this is because it has Focus Blast, but obviously we just kill with Sacred Sword. This time we actually get the crit against Caracosta, not that it matters because of Sturdy, but after surviving Waterfall, our Rocky Helmet kills the turtle. This was so important because Caracosta also has Aqua Jet. This means when N would eventually run out of potions, the fossil would still be on 1 HP and Aqua Jet to kill us before we could take it out. With that out of the way, Vanillux and Kling both die to Sacred Swords and Archeops gets KO'd by a Rock Slide. Furious with N for losing, Ghetsis decides to take matters into his own hands and challenges me himself. Anticipating a Toxic, I open by taunting Cofagrigus, but it actually goes right for damage with Psychic. This is bad. I Swords Dance to get to +2 as another Psychic leaves us in the yellow, but I don't have enough attack EVs to one-shot the Ghost. Somehow we survive a third Psychic on 9 HP, and now this one's as good as over. As long as I don't miss Rock Slides. In retrospect, it probably would have been smarter to use a second Swords Dance on the heel turn, but we get the same result here. Now the rest of Ghetsis' team gets dropped by Sacred Swords, and we make it out of this barely clinging to life. Terrakion actually could have been the first Pokemon to make it through N and Ghetsis without a death, but sadly the Caracosta crit ruined that dream. Now my only focus is mashing the A and B buttons to see if Rocky crosses the finish line before the 2-hour mark. And would you look at that? Terrakion clocks in at 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 55 seconds, becoming the second Pokemon to beat this game in under 2 hours and stealing the number 2 spot away from Zekrom. I'm sure I could have shaved a few minutes off this run if I had planned better for Berg and that Sharon fight we lost. Plus, there were a few times I should have had repels on me when I didn't, but I don't think we would have completely closed the gap between Terrakion and Reshiram. You can find the answer by watching this video next, and you'll be able to see how the box art legendaries got to numbers 1 and 3 on this list. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.